Hello, welcome to part 3 of our melancholy reflection cue. This time we're using the hidden part of our template, which has got these reverbs and stems ready for us to create from our tracks that we had originally. If you want to know how to create this template, there's a video linked over there to show you how to do it. The first thing I'm going to do though is go through and listen to it. Don't forget, like and subscribe, always appreciated. So I'm going to listen through, see if there's anything else I want to add now that I've had a bit of a break, and come back and see if I've added anything. So yes, I have added a glockenspiel, which is duplicating the melody and just helps it sound a little bit different from the first time you hear it. So there's some sparse notes to start off with, and then it follows the melody exactly. I've also removed the little piano run that I had at the end. Just didn't seem to fit particularly well. Okay, so I'm happy with that now as a structure and sound overall. What I'm going to do is now group these instruments into main parts. So we'll have the piano and the glock will go together as a melody section. We'll have probably high strings and low strings, again thinking how a music library might request that we take out the high or the low strings. We'll have the woodwinds and the brass and probably a percussion section. So when I've rearranged those and color coded them, I'll be back with you. Okay, everything is color coded from top to bottom in groups. We happen to have 6 different groups, which is going to match our 6 stems. Don't forget you can create more stems if you need to and think they might be required. So I've now got to go through and relabel these stems and reverbs to match what the different parts are. While I'm doing that, I'm also going to make sure I route things to the correct stems as well. So the piano and glock, instead of going to the stereo out, will end up going to the stem 1, which I'm going to rename as piano and glock stem. Okay, let's see what happens when I've done that. For those of you who might be watching using this template for the first time, this is how I'm going to do the last section, which is the brass here. I highlight all the tracks, the stereo out I'm going to change to brass stem, because that's where the sound now needs to go. And then on the sends, we add the brass reverb. So these are all now set up for me to go through and listen to and add any reverb. But the first thing I'm going to do is listen to the EQ and see if there's anything I need to change about the different instruments. What I'm going to do is probably loop this end section and listen to that over and over, because all the instruments are in by then, and see if we can EQ any parts out so the bottom end doesn't get too busy or the mid-range doesn't get too full up. So I'm going to go through and do the EQ. After that, I'm going to go and add different amounts of reverb to each of the tracks. Percussion tends not to need quite so much depending on the library you're using. So use your ears and come up with the best sounding mix that you think is going to work for you. Right, for you eagle-eyed people, you might have noticed when I set the bus and send for these 4 tracks earlier, it was actually the woodwinds and the brass. Now that was fairly obvious when I came to do the EQ, because I went to have the woods stem playing and obviously there was no sound coming out, which is when I spotted the problem. So that's quite an easy thing to check. Because we've worked from top to bottom, these output numbers should go up sequentially. So 21, 2, 3, 4, 5. If I'd have checked that, I would have noticed that 24 was missing. So I could have technically spotted that as well. Okay, now time for some reverb. I've put EQ on the channels as I thought was necessary. Haven't done anything to the percussion, so we're going to do a similar thing and add reverb into the tracks. Right, so there's reverb added. When I was putting it on the piano track, that was sending the piano a bit further into the distance, So what I discovered was the flute and the bassoon, when they come in here to start with, were actually quite loud. So I've actually lowered them even more as they start their little piece. And all we need to do now is bounce these to stems. So instead of input monitoring so we can hear what's going on, we're going to pop them into record mode, hit the record button and watch them magically appear. Don't forget to leave it running past the end so that everything has definitely faded out. Okay, see you in a sec. Right, we've got our 6 stems, so we can take them out of record mode because this will now play back. It's just playing all the stems. Nicely done. One thing I will say is I have been keeping an eye on the maximum level from the stereo out and making sure that nothing's clipping, because you do want to make sure there's still room for some mastering to go on. I'm going to use Logic Mastering Assistant. That's a fairly quick process. I'll be back in a sec. And there we go. Logic Mastering Assistant has done its job. I've actually gone for the clean sound instead of the transparent one, which is the default. And I just think it sounds a little bit nicer. So we've got a nice full sound now. I'm going to play it to you as an outro and end to this melancholy reflection cue. Like and subscribe, always appreciated. And see you in the next video. Bye for now.